Welcome, math aficionados. This is Victoria, and I'm here to talk about section 5.1, which is about greatest common factors and factor by grouping. So I'm going to do two short videos on both of those two types of problems. And the first one is finding the greatest common factor. So you can see an example here right from the homework, and it says factor out the greatest common factor. Simplify the factors if possible. And our problem is 18x to the fourth minus 12x to the fifth plus 3x to the sixth. So first I'd look to see what constants may be common. And you're always going to look for the smallest one, because if you want, it's the only one that would be divisible into the other one. So the smallest constant I see here is 3. And when I check, 3 does divide into 18 6 times, and 3 does divide into -12, -4 times. So that's my winner. I'm going to be able to factor out a 3 for the constants. And then I'm going to look at the variables, and each one of these terms has an x in it. And I've got an x to the fourth, x to the fifth, and an x to the sixth. So the biggest one that they have in common, the greatest of the common, is going to be x to the fourth. So I'm going to be able to factor out of each one of these terms 3x to the fourth. So it says, what is the greatest common factor? It's going to be 3x to the fourth. Thank you. Now it asks me to factor that out here, and you're going to see, let's focus on the right side of the equality sign. So I've taken out 3x to the fourth from this first term, and what's going to be left is just going to be 6. And then I've got a minus 3x to the fourth because there's a negative there, and what's going to be left is just going to be a 4x. And then it's going to be a 3x to the fourth, and what's going to be left here is going to be an x squared. So to check to make sure I'm on the right track, I'm going to go back and multiply these two things and see if I don't get the original term. So if I take 3x to the fourth times 6, I'll get 18x to the fourth. Good. And if I take minus 3x to the fourth times 4x, I'm going to have minus 3 times 4 is -12. And then x to the fourth times x is x to the fifth. So that works as well. And then the last term, I'm going to have a 3 and then an x to the fourth and an x squared. Let me add those exponents. I'll get x to the sixth. That looks perfect. So let's use the distributive law to separate it out. So I've got 3x x to the fourth. And then what's going to, and be careful here, if you don't tab over, you'll have your parenthesis up too high. And what's going to be left here is going to be a 6 minus 3x to the fourth. Again, tab over, and I'm going to get plus x squared. Let me just check that again. So I get 18x to the fourth. I get minus, that should be a 4, right? Not a 3. Oh, darn it, doesn't seem like let me do, because 3 times minus 3 is minus 9, and I'm looking for a minus 12. So I'm going to have to change this here to a 4. And it's going to be 4x and what's left here is going to be a plus x squared. All right, let me check it again. That's why it's a good idea to check. So there's my 18x to the fourth. 3 times minus 4 is minus 12x to the fifth. Perfect. And then this is going to be 3x to the sixth. We got it. All right. So this is how we do these problems. Look for a second video on how to do the factor by grouping, and I'll talk to you soon. Thank you.